Welcome to the Rainbow Six Siege Year 9 Season 1 tier list for operators. So, this isn't going to be like a typical tier list. I'm going to give y'all a tip as well to every op that I rank. Maybe I'm going to try to suggest some tips that maybe aren't known. Yeah, we're just going to get straight into it. I'm going to start from the bottom, do the newer ops a little bit towards the end. As of recording this is day 1 of Year 9. So, that's how much I have to know about Deimos and stuff, but let's get into it. Glaz, I would honestly probably put him at C tier. He has decent utility in smokes and grenades, although you can't cook grenades anymore. But his gun is just okay, and his ability's not that great. It's all right. Um, but a tip for Glaz, if you do want to use him, is try to use him for like pixel peaks. Use that ability to help you, because having the highlighted version of people will make it easier to see them. So try to hold more pixels with Glaz, especially if you plant the bomb. Try to find a pixel to hold because it's easy to see if you run it with Glaz. Now Capcan, this is the low rank, like just saving grace for everybody. I'm gonna put him B. He's slightly better than Capcan. I believe they got rid of his impacts, but he does still have his C4, or it's one or the other. I don't really remember. Obviously, his traps kill people. Yeah, he has a really good gun, arguably the best SMG in the game. So that's why I'm going to put him B. His gun is so good, and his traps are pretty decent. This is basically based off of how good their potential is and just personal experience as well, from playing the game for 4 or 5 years. So this is just this is what I've learned about the ops and their use. Now, tip for Capcan, it's kind of hard because he's very, very simple. But I would say just get experimental with them, because Capcan is very easy. So just try to become experimental. Put them on doorways. And it's like, you know what? Maybe let's see. Do a lot of people like to come this way? And it'll give you intel on where people like to rush in your rank, like where they like to come from. So to help out with that as well, don't just put them on site doors. All right, moving on. We got Fuse. Fuse, it is tough. LMGs did get a buff this season. So I'm wanting to put him B, but he's close to C tier. For me, his ability, I mean, I think it works well to clear gadgets from below if that's what you're doing, or maybe you're fusing a window and there's a lot of gadgets there to clear. He has a lot of versatility, but just the situations you need for you to pick fuse are like pretty low. Like, for example, the border site on bathroom, maybe that's good because a lot of people like to be cramped up in that site because they don't really know how to play it. And obviously in low ranks, he's pretty good. But a trick I would say with fuses, use the fuses for your advantage. So say if you're going to have it on a hard wall or something and it's going to fuse into a site, before you activate it, switch angles and watch them. Try to like lure them out almost, like for example how you would with like other ops that we'll get to later. So just try to use it to bait people out of their position if you're not doing that already. Next we have Tachanka. I would say easily F tier, honestly. I just don't find the use for him. His fire is sometimes useful. That is the only good thing he has going for him, because otherwise you can make rotates with his LMG, but that gun is so bad. I mean, I just much prefer to use the SMG personally, and even if you don't, like the SMG, he does have the same one as Capcan, which is arguably the best. So you know what? Maybe I'll move him to D tier, because you have two options. You can either be more of support, or you can be a fragger with potential to stop the plant. So I guess I'll move him up to D tier. He does have versatility. It's just his kit is very weak, and not too sure if he has deployable shield anymore. If he does, maybe move him up to C tier, but for now I'm gonna keep him in D tier. He just doesn't have that many uses other than denying the plant, and there's other ops that are way better at that. IQ, this op is also pretty mid. I'd probably put it above Glaz. It allows you to be a little bit lazier, but also allows you to clear gadgets and clear intel, which is very useful, especially if you're going against maybe a good Valk player. But her guns aren't that great. I mean, I like all of her guns, but they're nothing special. Her kit is nothing special. She is, in my opinion, the definition of mid. I like playing her. She's an enjoyable character to play, and she can be used very well. But I just think a drone could just really sort you out. Sometimes people do have Valk cams you just will never see, and that's fine. You don't need to play IQ, but if you want to, a tip for IQ: don't get tunnel vision when you're looking at a gadget. IQ is another simple op, so there's nothing too crazy to give on the opinions you have. Just don't get tunnel vision when you're looking for a gadget. Remember, there are still people around the map and people roaming. Next, we have Bandit, who is going to be S tier for me, and I think for a lot of people. He is one of 3 antis on defense, I believe. We'll make sure later, but yeah, an anti is very, very important on almost every single site, and his ability to trick, I think he's the easiest op to trick with. Some people like Cade. He also has a C4, which is great, and his gun has a very fast fire rate and is very good. Overall, just great kit and great at everything. I mean, he's very well balanced, but a tip for Bandit: there is a bug going around right now where you can place it through hard walls. I'm not going to show it in this, but if you want to learn some fun little tricks that sometimes work actually on some maps, you can look that up. But an actual tip I would use is to learn how to bandit trick. He's another simple op. Once you learn how to bandit trick, you pretty much mastered bandit. So for me, yeah, that's where I think S tier is perfect for him. Next, we have Blitz. With the shield rework, I haven't been able to play it yet, but they look really good. I think I'm going to put them above Fuse. I haven't been able to play the shield rework yet, so I'm not sure if he's better. I wouldn't put him lower than B, though, just because his ability to blind is good, and yes, he is easy to counter. But now he doesn't have to reload like with his shield to the side and stuff, and overall, it's just a better quality of life change for him. He can push you down now, blind you and push you down. Like, it is kind of a struggle, and there's a glitch with orcs right now. I don't know if they fixed it. I haven't heard anything about it, where you can actually insta-kill him, so his counter is also not working. So, yeah, I'd probably put him B tier. I mean, he is still kind of easy to counter, but with the shield rework, I think he's a solid unit to pick. I mean, I think Monty's a little bit better, but if you want to go Blitz, that's fine. A tip for Blitz, I would say, though, is do whichever you're uncomfortable with. If you're only comfortable with meleeing, start learning how to shoot people. I mean, you're not going to be like Shiko peeking around the corner with Blitz. Like, I don't expect that. Or you shouldn't expect that, I mean. But as well, if you only like to shoot people, get comfortable with meleeing them. Just learn the other, and then eventually Blitz. A lot of the early ops are very simple. Blitz is also very simple, so yeah. And I realized I forgot to give my tip for Tachanka. Try not to waste your fire. You want to use it for plant denial, so yeah, that's very simple. Jaeger, I think, is still S tier. I don't think they gave him his ACOG back. Like I said, this is day 1 of the update. My game is updating right now, so I will be able to play it later, but he's still S tier for me. I think his ability just to remove great grenades, stuns, smoke grenades, I mean, it really goes unmatched. I mean, that ability is very strong. His gun is still pretty good too. I mean, I don't think it's the best gun anymore, how it was at one point, but yeah, he's still very good. And the thing I'd say with Jaeger is, if you're struggling to use him, one tip, again, another simple operator, just put him in places you know your team is going to be a lot. Even if they don't sit there the whole time, if you know they're going to be there for a majority of time, or if you know there's a spot where the enemy team is going to rush or they like to rush, place some stuff there, because then they can't smoke it and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's your tip for Jaeger. Jaeger, I think, is S tier. Twitch. Twitch is tough. I think I want to put her A tier, but they keep releasing drone ops. She is gonna get replaced. She did get her ACOG back. That is true. Her gun is very hard to control, but it is good. Even the 417 is pretty good too, and the shotgun she has is good. So her kit for guns is pretty good, but what makes her good is her ability, obviously. She can clear a ton of utility, which is great. I mean, honestly, that alone, I think, would put her in A. The only reason I wouldn't put her in S is her guns are a little bit difficult to learn, especially the F2 is very fast firing, so you would want to use that, but it's very hard to control. And the 417 is really good, don't get me wrong, but I know DMRs aren't everybody's cup of tea. So yeah, very simple for that as well. She's very good at clearing utility. And what I will say, tip for Twitch would be to, I guess, look for different ways to get into the sites with your drone, because if you just go through the drone hole, your Twitch is getting shot a lot, and you're not going to be very useful because you're not going to be able to destroy anything. So look for unique ways to get your drone into the site or unnoticeable ways to get your drone into the site. Yeah, another very simple op. Let's move on to Rook. Rook, I think is... I'm going to go C tier as well. I think a lot of people will disagree with me on this one, probably put him in B tier. Some people may have him lower, but I think he's another example of a mid-tier op. I actually going to put him above IQ. But for me, the armor is nice. If you get down, you can pick yourself up, but that's a rare thing that ever happens, especially in a one-shot headshot game. When you get to higher ranks, chances you're running Rook are very low, and the chances you pick yourself up after getting downed, if you even get downed in high elo lobbies, is very low. But what makes him good is that he has versatility. I mean, he can create rotates. He now has an ACOG on his MP5, which is a great gun to use. So he has a good kit. His ability is just very average. I mean, it works for some people. Most of the time in the higher ranks it doesn't. It works a lot in the lower ranks though, so it is very good for those players. So for me, I think he's just sitting right in the mid tier. Good selection of weapons. Yeah, tip for Rook, there's not much I would say to, because the big thing, just make sure you run the MP5. Don't run P90, unless if you're just trying to have fun, which obviously I understand. But if you want to win, just run the MP5 and try to hold longer angles with them. That's all I can really say, because Rook is just all gun skill. You place down your armor and you're done. Just make sure you're helping your team with the impacts and stuff. Montang, I'm probably going to put A tier behind Twitch, because it is just not, actually, yeah, I'm going to put him A tier behind Twitch. They could probably go hand in hand, but the reason why I do this above Blitz is because Monty is that full extent, and he can now sprint like Blitz, he reloads the same as Blitz, and he can push people down like Blitz, and he can insta-kill Oryx like Blitz. So he doesn't really have a big counter other than explosives, really, or just double teaming him. So he's very good, and I just convinced myself to put it above Twitch, so I'm going to. The only reason why I don't put him A tier is because all you have is a pistol. Yes, you can kill people with the shield now, but all you have is a pistol. So for me, I would just put him A tier. The same tip is going to be with Blitz, except make sure you're helping like with the plant and team strategy. Blitz can be played as a solo shield op, and Monty is much more team oriented. So make sure you're playing with your team if you're going to play as Monty. But yeah, I'm going to leave him in A tier, but I'm going to play the season later today and the upcoming weeks, and maybe Monty will be moved up. Let's move on to Doc. Doc, I think, is just slightly better than Rook. I'm not a very big fan of healing operators. I think in a one-shot headshot game, even playing at like, even when climbing in the ranks when I'm in the gold elo playing, it's just not ever useful, I feel like. Playing Doc, to me, is just not great. I think it's good maybe if you roam with him and just try to take little shots off, because then people will chip at you. They're not going to kill you immediately. But Doc is a one-speed, so a lot of people are scared to roam with him, and they want to be on site to heal their teammates. But honestly, I think Doc is better when played as a selfish op, because if you stay on site, chances are your teammates, if they get shot, they're not really taking pot shots. They might get killed. So yeah, in a one-shot headshot game, in the higher ranks, I find him almost useless, honestly. And in the lower ranks, I can get it. But the reason why he's in B is just because I think he has more versatility of roaming. Like, Rook can roam too, but he's just place your armor and you're done. I think Doc can be played as a very good solo op. And yeah, with the same guns and stuff, and he has the bailiff to make rotates. And he can come back to site and heal people. So I think B is a good spot for him. I just think he's a little above average. All right, we got Thermite, who I think is S tier. Put it behind Bandit because the hard breachers are arguable, but there's just very little argument between denial. So for the hard breachers, first off is Ace, not Ace, Thermite. To me, Thermite is my favorite. I will always pick him in certain situations. Like, I play all of them, but what I would say Thermite is best at, Thermite is getting big walls, especially outside walls. If you need a hole and you want to get into sight and you want to rush or whatever, if you want to get a big wall open, you want to pick Thermite. To me, that's just the best. It makes the most sense. His gun is very good. He's a very good support. Yeah, for my tip for Thermite, I would say just make sure you're playing team oriented. I mean, if you pick Thermite and are just running in and dying, remember you are a support character, so That's my tip. Another very simple op, and I didn't give my tip for Doc, but it's very simple. Same thing as Rook. Just try to hold longer angles, especially if you are roaming as well. Say if you're at the bottom of cafe holding white, but you hear somebody coming through, like the bar area where the front door is. Don't run up towards it. Just hold an angle because it may help. Unless you hear them start going the other way, you got to learn how to play roamers. So yeah, it's a little tricky for Doc, but there's not much you can really do to get better other than just use his gun. Next we have Pulse, who for me, he did not get ACOG, I don't think, with the update. But I think his gadget is pretty useful. The only thing is he is pretty easy to counter. He doesn't have much other than that. I think I'll put him top of B tier because he's very similar to Capcan. He's very good in low ranks, but in higher ranks, he's pretty easy to clear because his gun is bad, right? He has a bad gun. His pistol's okay and stuff, and he does have a nitro, which is good, and you could use a shotgun as well. He's very good at stopping the plant, or just a very good roamer in general if you want to clear people out. Not much to say about him, but my tip for Pulse, I would say, is not only to learn how to play below, but learn how to roam with him properly. Because you want to be in places where you can hide and still know where people are coming from. You don't want to just be sitting in a wide open room, like looking up at the ceiling. So for me, my tip to you would to be learn how to play Pulse properly. Don't be out in the open scanning. Try to be undercover a little bit because they may come from behind you. Maybe you didn't hear, maybe you didn't get a call, and they come from behind you. And that's an easy kill if you just have your camera out. All right, next we have Ashe. I am an Ashe fan. I hate to say it. Well, in standard at least. In ranked, I'll play anyone. But Ashe, I honestly am going to put A. She did receive a hidden buff when the mirror change came out that I didn't know about until recently. But she actually can destroy stuff that's electrified now. So not like anything reinforced. Say if they electrify deployable shield, Ashe can now break it. So her utility has got a lot better. She's very good at playing vertical, whether from below or above. So just make sure to take use of that there. That's probably my tip for Ashe. Most people just run in for the gun. She does have two very good guns. Her guns are really great. But try to use her more vertically because she's great at that from either above or below. So yeah, that's very simple. But I'm only putting her at the bottom of A because she is mainly a solo op, whereas the ops above her are very good for team play, which you need if you want to be a good player. Next, we have Castle, who did get a 1.5, and I am actually going to put above Ashe. Now, I know some people probably don't understand this, but I think Castle... Actually, I think I'm going to put Castle above Montaigne. Because Castle's potential, I think, is unlimited. Castle really creates a whole new site. So if you have a good Castle player on your team, they can really change the whole map for you. As long as you know what they're going to do, you can play it perfectly, and the other team will have no idea what to do. Castle is very, very good. The reason why he doesn't go in S, though, is because he is hard to learn. And if you don't have a 5-stack that knows your strats, it can crumble very, very easily. But his potential is through the roof. I mean, if you have a really great Castle player, he could be S tier. But if you have even an average Castle player, he could be F tier or D tier. Like, you really have to know what you're doing, and your team has to know what you're doing. But he is a very, very good team op because he recreates the whole site for you. And before, I'd maybe put him A or a little bit lower, but he did get an ACOG on his which now makes him even stronger, honestly. And he has a super shorty as a secondary. I mean, he is very, very stacked when it comes to his kit. He can pretty much do anything. The only thing he doesn't have is like a C4 or something like that, which is totally fine. So he's very versatile. My tip for Castle, honestly, if you want to play Castle, just really try new stuff. I remember playing. I'm not a great Castle player or anything on most maps, but when the rework for Console came out, I was like, I'm gonna try Castle, and I figured out strats, and they were so good. I transformed the sites in basement. I can transform the sites upstairs or first floor, and I can turn that whole map into my map. And my team knows it now, so it plays perfectly. And I think every time we start on defense, we normally go at least 2-0, but most of the time we go 3-0 just because we have those great Castle strats. So just try different stuff. That's what I did, especially if there's a new map that comes out or map gets reworked. Try Castle on it. You're going to be the first one to figure out these strats. And if you figure out something that works, I promise you're going to be the only one that knows them and your team, and they will work out great. So that's my tip for Castle. Next, we have Thatcher, was obviously an S tier still. Even with the nerf he had a year or two ago, he still is amazing. His kit is amazing with the claymores and his guns, basically stopping all run out. His guns are great, and he gets rid of anti. I mean, plain and simple. And you don't have to be like Callie. You don't have to know where it is. You just throw it. If it's above the site, you got it. If it's below on a completely different floor, you got it. I mean, he's can just counter all anti. That's why he gets banned a lot. Yeah, he's still S tier. He's still amazing. Oh, my tip for Thatcher though, there's not much. Honestly, I would just say make sure to use like his claymores. Like I don't know his other thing. It might be stuns or something like that. But I like to use his claymores because it's my job. If I'm playing Thatcher, it's my job to get rid of the anti. So I also want to get rid of the people that are stopping my hard breacher. So if people want to run out, I place my claymore so they can't run out, or at least we'll know. So I have time to react when my hard breacher is getting the wall open. So yeah, my tip would be to use his secondary gadget because it's very simple. You throw it at a wall, and that's all you have to do. Next, we have Smoke, who did receive a pretty big nerf, in my opinion. I don't know how if people agree with me, but at the same time, it is very tough for Smoke, I would say. This is the only one I think I'm really struggling with. So obviously shotguns had a pretty big change this update. Well, not necessarily shotguns, but Red Dot did. And Smoke doesn't have the deployable shield, so I don't know if I want to put him S anymore. But at the same time, oh, that is very rough. I think I'm just gonna leave him at the top of A because I think certain things have to play out right for Smoke to work. He is just the way better version of Tachanka because for Smoke, even though he doesn't have deployable, you should still run the shotgun and SMG. For me, I've had no trouble controlling the SMG 11. Obviously, that takes a little bit to work on. And the shotgun laser sight got changed, so it no longer increases hip fire accuracy, but now you can take it off and hold corners a little bit tighter when you know someone's coming in with that shotgun. And of course, he's very great plant denial. And overall, he could just stop rushes and everything like that. My one tip for Smoke, though, other than learning how to control the SMG-11, because that is a tall task, and you do want to use that over the primary SMG, I would honestly say just learn spots to play him. Like sometimes you can roam with Smoke, and sometimes you shouldn't. Like for I would say Coastline's a perfect example. You could play Smoke on every objective on Coastline, but I would recommend on some of them trying to roam with him. Because for Hookah, I think it's okay to roam with him. I think Kitchen, it's great to roam with him. But the other sites, maybe you want to stay on, because there's just different choke points and stuff like that. So SMG 11 is probably number one. And number two is really helping your team out and learning where you should be. The Smoke is very big on his position now, especially without the deployable, and the hipfire accuracy is even smaller. So, or the hipfire accuracy doesn't exist anymore. My bad. So yeah, I would say he's probably A tier, but those are my tips for him. Mute, I think, is S tier. I'm going to put him near the bottom of S tier because he is an anti, but he no longer reaches the top of the wall anymore. And that's not really an issue, but for me, Mute has a couple issues. Is that his gadget, it's just range and overall, like, value, I feel like, isn't as good as, say, like, Bandit. Because Bandit is going to get that wall and is very easy to trick with him. Mute, I don't even know if you can trick with Mute, honestly. There's ways to avoid his mutes. You can't mute off everything, even if you're going for drone denial, even if you're going for wall denial. I mean, you probably can, but then they're easy to shoot or they're easy to get to. Example, if you have a zero. I mean, I even think Flores can get in the range where it blows it up. I'm not sure if that's correct, but either way, I mean, they're very easy, especially grenades. You don't have to cook now. You just throw it and then just wait for it to explode. I do think he's still very good because he can stop drones and he can stop the wall, and he is very useful on some sites. But with his guns not being that great, I run shotgun and SMG-11. Although the MP5K is still good, I think you're already learning how to play Smoke. You might as well do it on Mute anyway. And he does have a C4, which is great. So his kit is pretty good, and his gadget is good. I know I just spent time saying how it wasn't the best. I just think its versatility sometimes hurts him because it decreases his range of stuff. So yeah, my tip for him would basically be control the SMG-11 and learn when you should be drone denial and when you should be wall denial with Mute. Because there's some spots, for example, if you do Mute wall denial on Basement of Chalet, The only thing they could get the top, unless if they destroy the mute, is with Ace, in which they'd have to repel, right? But they can't get in, so as long as you had everywhere else on lockdown, like that could be fine, right? But that depends on your team and what you need to do. So that's my tip for him. To move on, Sledge. Sledge I think is very mid as well. I think I'm gonna put him. I think I'm gonna put him above Pulse. In my opinion, I think Ash does almost everything better than Sledge. The only thing is Sledge can create more holes. That's pretty much it. Grenades can still destroy util, which is good, yes. Ash can still destroy util as well. Ash has the better gun. Sledge does have a good gun, don't get me wrong. But Sledge's only vertical abilities from above, where Ash's is from below. Now, my tip for Sledge, it's very difficult to say. He is probably the easiest op to play. I would say just don't get caught smashing the holes. Make sure you drone out, and if you're gonna play from above, don't be dumb. Look around. Don't just get in there and keep smacking. And make sure you check occasionally to make sure nobody's coming to get you. Now, Buck, I think is pretty even with Ash. They're both the same thing. I feel like they both have really great guns. They both can play vertical from above and below. Buck has flashes, which help him, or hard breaches, which help as well. Just depends what you want to run. I think they're both pretty even, and they can do the same job. So it just depends which one you like more. For me, I like Ash more, but I do play Buck quite the occasion. So yeah, both of those are great. My tip with Buck would be to play from below. He's better at playing from below than Ash. However, I think Ash has a little bit of better gun, so it just depends, up to you. But yeah, I think Buck's better at playing from below. So yeah, just learn how to do that with him. That'd be my advice on Buck. Next we have Frost, who I'm always very torn about. Sometimes I think she's like here, and sometimes I think she's like here. So for me, Frost, I think I'm probably gonna put top of B. Frost has a great kit. Um, her gun is pretty good. It's not great or anything. She has a secondary shotgun, so she can create rotates. She has a deployable shield, which is by far the best thing she has. And her frost mats are good still. They're just a little bit worse, which isn't bad, I would say. But she's very big on that deployable shield, in my opinion. That's what I use her for more than anything. I don't know if I'm really missing anything. I could see why people would maybe want her A, and I could see why people would want her C. Her frostmats are very easy to destroy. I mean, literally all it takes is for you to look down before you jump on it, and you can destroy it pretty easily. And her gun is okay. I mean, it's a decent SMG. It's not bad by any means. And then secondary shotgun is great for creating rotates. So she is a help and a solo op. Like, she can do both, but I think there's just a lot better. The only reason I would ever pick Frost is for the deployable shield. Which is great. So my tip for Frost is learn how to play on a deployable shield, because you will need that. Deployable shields are amazing. Also with Frost, with a deployable shield and a secondary shotgun, you can create long angles for yourself, like on the top floor bank. I'm not going to show that now, but you can create very long angles for yourself, so that's where I'd put her. She also lost the 1.5, which does hurt her. I believe she had the 1.5. Either way, I think she's top of B. Next, we have Blackbeard, who is F tier. I know Blackbeard's getting a rework, not this season, but I believe at the end of year 9. I know he is getting a rework, but he's terrible. His guns are bad. His kit overall is bad, and his gadget's bad. I mean, he does nothing good. Yeah, he really does nothing. He's not really good for anything. Honestly, you should never bring him as a solo player or as a team player. He doesn't do anything, to be honest. Unless you're doing a funny all shield strat. That's the only reason I'd ever bring him. But a tip for Blackbeard, I guess if you want one, would be learn how to play at head level angles, or pair it with another shield so you can peek just your shield. And even if they hit you with one bullet while you're quick peeking, you still have another chance. So just try to learn the headshot only angles on sights. And that'd be about it. I just wouldn't play them, honestly, so we're going to move past that really quick. Valk for me is still S tier. I would put her I'd probably put her below Jaeger. Now, her gun is amazing, obviously. Her deagle is amazing. Her kit's overall amazing because she has either impacts or C4, which I think is useful at either times. I sometimes switch it up. So yeah, very simple. Her kit alone is S tier, but her gadget is what makes her so good. She has tiny little cameras you can hide, and intel is arguably the most important thing in Siege. So for intel, she's hard to beat. You can put it in places that you can't find. Um, the only reason why she's not higher, I have over 80 hours on Valk, and I will say it hurt me so bad when we couldn't throw the cameras outside anymore and leave them there. That really hurt. Obviously, I get the change because she was arguably the best op in the game with that. But now that you can't put them outside, I would say for my tip, um, just learn different, try different Valk spots every single game on every single map until you learn spots on a map where it's like, okay, I get a lot of intel here and nobody's finding it, right? Because there's some common spots that people find. Like if you put it in a very common bush on a map, that a lot of people play, they may know it very easily, but then maybe find somewhere else to put it that people won't expect. So yeah, Valk is still very strong. You could argue her to be higher, and I would maybe agree, but I'm just gonna leave her there for now, just for the fact that there are other Intel ops, and the ones above I feel like are irreplaceable. Next we have Capitao, who I think this is really tough for me. I think I'm gonna put Capitao at the top of B. Now this used to be the plat player's dream to just main Capitao, but I don't really I just don't really know. People don't play Capitao much anymore because, to me at least, he feels like a plant only. He kind of stops rotatability within the defense, which is great. He can smoke off to help your team get in or plant or obviously a glass. His gun is okay, and I believe, does he have the super shorty now? I think so, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Don't really play Capitao that much. I know he has hard breaches now, though, and I believe Claymores. Overall, he can be helpful to the team, but I think it just depends on the scenario and what your team's doing. That's why I put him B tier because he's very situational. Now, he can be really good, or he could also be really bad. So I think I'm going to put him B tier. More people need to start playing Capitao again. I think people underutilize him. You can shoot your fire and smokes from below. You don't even have to be up there in the line of fire to help your team. That would be my tip for Capitao. Play below. You can literally shoot the arrows through a bullet hole. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend. Next we have Cav, who I'm probably gonna put C tier. The only reason Cav is useful is in lower ranks. It's literally it. If you're in a higher rank, Cav is normally so easy to find, and she has nothing to help herself. Her guns are pretty bad, other than her pistol, which obviously is the main thing they're going to be using anyway. But pistols are hard for many people to aim with, so yeah, I think C, maybe even D, but the thing is, if you get an interrogation off, it is very useful. So that's why I think her C, because her gadget can be strong, but she is hard to use, especially if you go against a team that actually uses their drones. If you use your drone and you aren't terrible at aiming, you should be able to kill Cav, no problem. So that's why she's going to go bottom C, just because her gadget has some use. Well, you know what? I'll put her above Tachanka. Next, we have Echo, who I think is S tier. I'm going to put him at the bottom because he's another intel op. He's a plant denial op as well. Problem is, he only has 2 cameras. Actually, I am going to move him up behind Valk. I like to play Echo a lot. There is many things he's good at. He has a deployable shield, which is huge. Now, personally on Echo, I don't like to use it, but giving my team another deployable shield is very helpful. A lot of people like to hide with Echo, which is fine in some situations, especially if you feel like the other team is going to try to plant. As long as you're able to get back and help, that's totally fine. But yeah, he's very good at intel, very good at planting. Now, the only problem is his things are loud, and when you do shoot once, they are very easy to find. And his gun is okay. It's not great or anything. So that would be his big thing for me. Why he's not, say, above like Valk or Jaeger. But my tip for Echo would to be to try to roam with him. Try to learn to roam. Because roaming with him can also be very helpful. You have one on site where maybe your site's a little bit weaker because you got to trust your team to hold it down on the other site. maybe a site where you only have maybe one person sitting or no one sitting, someone just nearby. Have an echo in that room for sure, and then have the other one with you, so maybe you can concuss someone, run out, kill them, whatever. So yeah, very useful like that. I realized I didn't give my tip on Cav. My tip on Cav, really nothing much. Just practice with the pistol. That would help a lot. All right, moving on, we have Habana, who I think is S tier. I'm gonna put her below Thermite though, because I feel like she isn't used as much. For me, I love to use Habana when getting hatches. She is the best hard breacher for getting hatches. Don't listen to what anyone else says, and she's very good at playing vertical in general, especially if there's soft floors. So Habana is great for that. Her gun is a little bit hard to control, so I would try to learn how to use it, and her secondary is as well, so practice with those. But yeah, she's very simple, very, very good for hatches. There's a few tricks you can do with her as well, and she's not bad for getting walls by any means, but she's definitely a hatch operator. Now, in terms of a tip for her, I would say to learn the Habana trick on soft floors. If there is a hatch that's reinforced and electrified, you can actually break it if it's surrounded by a soft floor. So, for example, like the kitchen hatch for basement on Clubhouse, you can break that if it's electrified with Habana. And not only that, I would say playing from a ton of different angles. Like, yes, you can break the hatch, but if you could break the soft floor, do that. Or if there's another spot above where you can hold the hatch from another floor, try to do that. Just try to play differently with her. Because she's very predictable. You break the hatch and sit on the hatch, somebody might come for you. If you don't have anybody watching you or you aren't prepared, then probably are gonna die. You might get a few kills though, so yeah, that'd be my tip. Next we have Jackal, who I think is probably still A tier. He gets banned a lot for good reason because he's very annoying. But Jackal is just, he is kind of broken because his ability does give away any location. The only problem, not the problem, but the thing is you can deal with Jackal. You just have to be well prepared. And if you are going to roam and you know you didn't ban Jackal, you're going to have to be on cams. You're going to have to set up some sort of liability thing, but you're going to always be prepared for Jackal. Sort of on that. I think I'll move him top of A tier. I just don't want to put him S because, actually, I don't know. Jackal's so tough. His ability is just busted. Like, he's not the easiest to counter, but the people aren't great at Jackal because they don't get to play him that much. And in the higher ranks, I mean, I don't think people even want to play Jackal. He does have good guns though. He has a great kit, surprisingly, for how much he's banned. You think they would nerf that, but his guns are amazing. So I think paired with his ability, you can do some good roam clearing. But I think you can roam clear anyway. The only thing about Jackal is he makes it very, very hard to counter. Like, whereas you roam clear someone else, you can move around and stuff like that. Obviously, with Jackal, they're going to know your ping, but you can use it to your advantage sometimes. You can make the pings misleading to misdirect them, but I am going to put him at the bottom of S because he is still very troublesome, especially for anyone under the higher ranks. That's even the mid-tier ranks like Platinum and Emerald. Like, he can still be very annoying. So I think I'm going to put him S tier, and his guns are amazing. So even if you aren't able to track anyone, he has some of the best guns in the game. My tip for Jackal, though, would to be don't get tunnel vision when you're tracking someone, and try not to get misread by the pings. Like, if someone is in a room and they start running towards a side that has no exit, don't even look over there. They're trying to fake you out. All right, that's just an example, but think of it like that. Think of where would they actually go. All right, next we have Mira, who a lot of people have been hating on. I know, seen some people say that she's bad. I don't think she's bad at all. I would still put her I'd still put her A tier. It's very easy to break mirrors now with Callie and Ash, and there's almost always an Ash, so you can break the mirrors pretty easily. But she's still good at intel, and she's still good at maybe being able to get a pick or two. And her kit is great. Her SMG is amazing. Secondary shotgun is amazing, and her C4 is amazing. Here's my tip. The reason why I also put her in A is going to go along with my tip, is that she is good when you play her in a weird way. Now, what I mean is, maybe you put a mirror on a window they don't expect, but you're gonna it's hard to explain. Basically, playing Mira is like you're expecting the unexpected and you don't want the enemy team is. It's very complicated, but you want to play her weird. If you can have her in weird spots that give you the slightest bit of intel, your team can get the easiest kills ever because no one's going to expect that. They're going to be distracted by it. They want to come punch it, and you might be able to get a free kill. So I think playing Mira in weird spots that people don't normally play her in is a great way to not only get better at her, get better at your gun skill, but also give your teammates some good intel and kills. All right, next we have Legion. I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry. Legion is good. I would put Legion there. Now, there's a lot of B tier ops. I'm very fond of a lot of ops. I don't think a lot of ops are bad. I think they have use. But to continue with Legion, his SMG is amazing. It is probably top 5 in my opinion. But his gadget for me just I think it's lost some touch. For me, I've always used Legion for intel, and now that it's not really invisible anymore, I find myself rarely stepping on Legions. I know a lot of lower ranked players still do, but I rarely step on Legions, and the impact damage, I mean, sometimes is a factor, and the fact it does more damage. But for me, I've always used it for intel, and I've always thought Legion was more of an intel operator. So to have those not be invisible now, I get they do more damage, but to me, I feel like that's not a fair return. I think he is still good for intel, and it is hard to find every single Legion, especially if you place them in non-predictable spots. That's my tip. Learn to place Legions in non-predictable spots, yet spots where people will walk on to give you good intel. So he is a little bit harder to play now, and he does have a really good gun, and he can make rotates, but yeah, overall I think he's B tier just because it is very easy to see his gadget now. So yeah. Next we have Ying, who Ying is really tough for me. I would probably put Ying above Pulse. Ying is another solo op in my opinion. I mean, you can pair her with some team stuff, but your team's gonna have to know what's going on, and her gun is not that great. I know LMG's got a buff, but I don't know if they buffed hers because hers has always been a little bit different. Her secondary is not really anything. She does have smokes and the flashes, so she can help with plant. That is, in my opinion, Ying's biggest use is to help for plant. Obviously, you can blind people and frag them out, but you can shoot them. So if you don't prep them, they can easily shoot them out, especially if you're going against higher skilled players. If they have Jaeger, they're just gone. And most of the times, if a room gets flashed, somebody else on defense will come rotate to try to help them. There's just many situations where Ying is always able to be countered, and it's hard to play her very well. I would just put her in B because she's a solo op, and she doesn't really help the team all that much. She's more of a solo player. You can use her for the plant, which can be team oriented, but overall, I think she can do a lot of harm as well. And I think there's too many variables when it comes to Ying. So I would put her in B. She's a great solo op. Not great, honestly. She's a decent solo op. Yeah, her kit's not that good, but her gadget's decent. Next, we have Ella, who, honestly, in my opinion, is just going to go next to Legion. She's pretty much just a Legion with only 3 traps now, except her traps are a little bit better, so that's why she is so close, because if not, she would be lower. But she's not really a great roamer anymore. She has a deployable shield, which is great as well, which puts her right up there with Legion. Deployable shield is amazing. Her gun is good. Her pistol is good. Yeah, her gadget's decent. So everything about her is pretty decent. Her best thing, in my opinion, is the deployable shield. I find those so useful. Um, my tip for her would be to learn to play on the deployable shields and to learn her SMG, but also to get weird Ella spots as well. You don't want them to be noticeable or at least unexpected, and you want them to be intel. You're not using them so the people get concussed and it's an easy swing and free kill. You're using them to know where the people are and where they're coming from for your roamers to come get them. Or if you're going to roam as Ella, you could do that, but I prefer to actually use the deployable shield with Ella because her gun is so good. So that's what I would do. But if you want to roam with Ella, then it helps you out as well. Just remember where you place them and be like, okay, there's people here, here, here. You can call it out for your roamers, get an easy kill. So yeah, I'd put her B tier. She is still useful, but she really got hurt being bumped down in speed. Zofia, I'm probably gonna put D tier. I'm very negative on Zofia. I just don't think she's that good. I don't think either of her guns are good. Her secondary pistol's okay. Um, Overall, her kit's not good, really that good at all. I don't even know what she has, like smokes and I think breach charges, she's just not that good in my opinion. She does have the concuss, which I find almost useless. The only thing is for intel, it's the same as Ella. If it goes off right away, there's someone in that room. If it doesn't, then there might not be. So even then, it's a little bit iffy because they could be in the room, just not in the radius. So yeah, I'm not very big on that. And yes, she does have the destructive power like Ash, but Ash just has a way better gun and just a better kit in general. I would just pick her so much more. I would just pick her way over Zafia. Zafia can play vertically though. I just think she's overall really bad. I find both of her guns terrible. All of her guns terrible actually. She's just not a very good op to pick at all. Anything she can do, there's another op that can do better. Even Ash does literally everything except the concuss, but she does everything else Zafia does 10 times better. So I would just never pick Zafia either until she gets some kind of buff. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but I think she's terrible. Now, tip though, I would say to either play vertical. I mean, this is going to be a theme for a lot of ops, but the vertical and play shields. But something different to do is her with her as well is to learn to play off of her concusses. So say if you concuss a room and it doesn't go off right away, but you know, okay, maybe that didn't cover the whole room. You can, if you're gonna swing without droning, just swing in the side that you didn't shoot the concussion at. 'Cause you're gonna have to trust the ability went well, which sometimes it doesn't. So I'm not gonna lie, I just wouldn't pick her, but that's my tip. Just learn off to play off the concusses. Dokubai, I think, is still S tier. Actually, I'd probably put her all the way up there. Her calls are really annoying, and they give great intel to not only you but the whole team. So even planned at an average level, she's great. I mean, obviously, when you have good plays with her, she's amazing. Her guns are kind of what holds her back, though. SMG-12 is very hard to control. I love that gun though. Her DMR is pretty good, so that's the gun you will normally be using because the Bosch G is 2-shot, but that's another fun gun. So either way on Dokubai, you're either having fun or you're being annoying to the other team. And then if you kill somebody and hack their cams, guess what? You have all their intel. I mean, that is huge. Dokubai is huge. I'd actually argue that would probably put her at the top right now. Just because if you are able to take all their intel, you unless if they know, which they might know, to shoot their cams, then they're in trouble. And I mean, even if they do shoot their cams, then they don't have intel. And then you have the drones. You're able to get in there. You're able to do stuff. So yeah, Dokubai, I think so far in the tier list is number one. A tip for her, just don't get caught like hacking a phone when there's people nearby or caught in a call when there's people nearby. And actually, if somebody's dead, make them use the cams, or you use the cams if nobody's dead, and let your teams get in. Let your team get in. Oh, excuse me. All right, next we have Vigil, who I think is C tier. He did receive a little buff, not this season, but previous season, where he can actually reinforce and shoot while in his ability, which does help. At the same time, you still know it's Vigil. You just don't know where exactly he is. I'm gonna put him at the top of C tier because I still think he's a decent roamer. But the only problem is you can roam with really anybody. Like yes, he's a 3-speed. His impacts help and his gun is good. But his gadget really doesn't do much, especially in higher ranks. Like it's just kind of tough to just kind of find it. It's tough to find a use for him. Now I like using him, like I said, for his gun. His gun is good. His kit is pretty good, but his gadget just doesn't really matter. Now obviously it is for droning a little bit. So no, I'm probably gonna leave him at C, but I think I'm gonna bump Fuse down uh like that, just because I think him and Fuse are very similar in terms of like use. Like there's a lot of stuff that really has to fall into pieces for them to work properly, and I think Vigil's in that thing. My tip for Vigil is to listen for drones and to use your utility whenever you hear them. You can use them during line scans and stuff. He counters Deimos now, which is pretty good for him. But what I would say in general is to not to use it to not get found because you're going to get found, but use it while you're moving spots, right? So like say if you want to sit in a corner during when they're coming out, like right after drone phase, make sure you have your ability on when you're moving there, and don't run because then they can see you. They can see where you're running to. Just slowly walk there and use your ability so you have no idea where you are, and you can sit in the corner and wait for them to come in and do what you want. That would be my tip for Vigil. Next, we have Finka, who I'm not really fond of. I'm not a big fan of Finka. I'm not a big fan of healing ops. I know a lot of people are going to get really mad at this. People think Finka is really good, but here's my reason. Um, I think her guns are okay. Obviously, LMGs are getting a buff, so maybe she is pretty good. But I think her guns are okay. They're not bad by any means. You can run the gun to destroy util, but not really all that useful. She has flashes and stuff, but I don't really find her ability that crazy. It does heal you a little bit, and I don't even think does it help with the aim anymore. I don't even know if it helps with the aim anymore. But it can pick you up if you get down. But like I said, a one shot headshot game, especially on attack, you're normally going to be holding a lot tighter angles, especially like playing Skylight or something with her, or playing off a window. You're more likely to get shot in the head than anywhere. So for me, I think she's B tier. I think she's a very heavily overrated operator. Now, I know a lot of people might get mad. A lot of people are probably going to get mad at a lot of stuff in this tier list, but in my opinion, I just don't think Finka has much of a use. I don't really see where you need any of that stuff. The recoil control, I don't get. I mean, most guns are very manageable unless you have a Twitch on your team. I don't see it, and I don't even think that's part of her ability anymore. She has frags, but you can't cook anymore. So yeah, she could destroy a good bit of util. So she is pretty decent at that. And her guns are kind of mid, but overall, I think her gadget's mid too. I think she's another mid tier operator. I'm gonna leave her there. Lion, I think, is another pretty bad operator. I'd probably put him there. It's obviously Lion, when you scan it, people can't move, but who cares if they move? The only reason you wouldn't do that is maybe if you got plan off or you're waiting for somebody, somebody's trying to rotate, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there's almost no other point you really need to use Lion, unless if you're doing like an Amaru strat with it or something, and his guns are decent. They're okay. I mean, I know he has the gun, so he can destroy some util, but overall, he's pretty mid operator. Now, my tip with Finka, I forgot to get to. My tip with Finka would be to see when your teammates are losing health, if they don't die right away, and that's when you would use your ability, like play it off your team, not off yourself, or if you guys are planning a rush or something, then use it. And then for Lion, like I said, while explaining him, my tip would be to just use it when somebody's trying to rotate, or if you plant it and they're trying to cut them off or something like that. That's the only reason to really play Lion in the first place, so I would just learn how to do that as your tip. Now, Alibi, let's see. I think Alibi is probably B tier because I will say she does give intel, but not quite as good as Ella and Legion. Um, but she is very good for her bailiff and her gun. Her kit is very good because her gun is arguably top 3 SMG in the game. It is fantastic. And then the bailiff, obviously, she can create rotates. My only problem is her clones are very easy to tell that it's not a clone. Now, with the elite, that does change a little bit slightly. More people will be fooled now that you could put the elite clothes on. But other than that, to me, I've never found her gadget as an issue. I always just keep it in mind. And it does give intel if they shoot it. Obviously, that's her whole ability. Or if they break it, it gives you intel as well. But especially if you play in higher level lobbies, they're just not like me. I just don't shoot alibis. I just am conscious of where the alibi prismas are, and I just don't shoot them because then that doesn't tell them where I'm at, and I know that's not a person, and I know they have an alibi now. So to look out for roamers because she is a 3-speed, and she's a pretty good roamer with her gun and her ability to create holes around the map with her bailiff. So she's pretty good, but for her ability to roam and overall intel, I am gonna put her above Ella. Um, yeah, alibi I don't think is bad. I think that's more of a uh, bragging character. Now, sorry, I'm trying to make this as quick as possible. I don't want to make this too long, but Maestro, I will probably have at the bottom of. Hmm, I actually have above Mira. Maestro obviously got a nerf with you being able to punch the cameras, and I. Sorry, I'm not gonna misquote that. Never mind. But he has 3 of them now, which is very, very useful. He's very good for stopping the plant. He's very good for intel. Um, It's very simple. Not much to say about that. He can create rotates as well. He has impacts and the bailiff, and his LMG is pretty good. My tip for Maestro though would to be just to put your camera in spots that are hard to reach. And what I mean by that is if you're going to be around them, maybe put them in spots that take a second where they have to run to, and then you can peek out and kill them. Or if you know it's going to be somewhere with high intel, just try to put it somewhere where they're not going to see it very easily until you open it, and then they'll be able to notice. Or put it in spots where you can climb up something, then break it, and then they can't even get up there anymore. Right now, that's only in some situations, but still. And to go back to Alibi, I forgot to give a tip on her as well. I would say to put it in either A, common pre-fire spots and you can run out and kill people, or B, learn to put her in power position spots. So like spots where people are going to be holding or shooting, like shooting into, like, and it's hard for them to shoot the bottom of it to break it, right? So maybe if you know somebody, there's a common head hole spot, right? Or there's a common spot where people sit behind a desk. Maybe put the Alibi behind the desk because maybe a teammate still does play there, is still going to shoot. You're going to get the information, and if you're roaming, you can come from behind. All right, next we have Maverick. In my opinion, Maverick is the only hard breacher not in S tier. I am not a fan of Maverick. I do not think he's that great. I do still think he's A tier. I'd probably put him above Montaigne. He does have the most versatility, but to me, Maverick is a very hard operator to master, and overall, it's just not worth it because I think other people do his job better and quicker. Now, Maverick, if you don't know, can Maverick trick an entire electrode wall and take it down? He'll just need somebody else to blow it up. So it still takes two ops. Same with the Ermin Thatcher. He can break hatches by himself, which so can Habana. So, he can do that as well. And he can get holes from pretty much anywhere, create head holes, kind of like Ace can. So, and I do like his guns. I think he does have very good guns. His kit overall is pretty good, and he does have versatility. I just think he's not the best at any breaching, so there's no point to take him. If you know you're going to get a hatch, bring Habana. If you know you're going to get a big wall, bring Thermite. If you know you're going to get a like smaller wall, or overall maybe you might get more than one thing, bring Ace, right? Like, so for me, Maverick just doesn't have much of a point to picking. Although if you do pick him, he is very versatile. He is also very slow at just breaking everything. Like obviously some people are fast at it, but he's still just slow. My tip for Maverick is to learn how to Maverick trick though. That would be very useful, and just be good at it because I can Maverick trick, but it takes me like a minute, in a minute and a half. Like it's ridiculous. So yeah, just learn how to do that. Flash, it's a pretty easy F tier, but better than Blackbeard. I think Clash is very fun to play, but she is very, very bad if your team does not play off of it. She is very easy to kill and counter if you don't have a team playing with you, or you're just the best Clash player in the world, all gun skill, which that doesn't even apply. Like you could be all gun skill Blackbeard and do good, right? But going off the ops, she is very bad. She can create rotates and stuff, which is nice, or bring a deployable shield if you want, and have a super shorty. But if you don't have anybody playing with you, she's pretty much useless. I mean, you slow people down, but they're going to kill you eventually. That's why she's F tier. She's only useful if your team is going to play with you. And yeah, sometimes they do, but even then, she's still not that great. Because the people that are attacking can also see through the shield too, and they're more than likely always prepared for that other person to come swinging. My tip for Clash though would to be learn how to do that little turtle move where you like, if it is just up to you, you can spin around, switch to your gun, and then turn back around and kill them. It's not that hard to learn. Just go try to learn that. So yeah. Next we have Nomad, who in my opinion is, I think I would put her. I think I'll put her A tier behind Smoke. She's pretty much the offensive Smoke. In my opinion, she is very good at stopping the roamers coming back to site. She's very good if you plant, you are going to know where they are. She's very good at cutting off rotates. So maybe if you don't want anyone coming behind you, you don't have anyone coming with you, you want to place a Nomad there, and boom, somebody comes up from behind you. They're now air jab. You can turn around, kill them easy, or at least you know that somebody was there, right? She also has breach charges. Her guns are very good. Her kit is very good. That's why I think she's A tier. She's useful in every situation. You can play her solo. You can play her with teams, and her gun is very good. You can frag out with her. So she's great. You could play her with everything, and obviously you could play from above vertically because she has breach charges. So yeah, she's very great. Next we have Cade. Who Cade is going to be S tier. I'm going to put behind Bandit. That's just personal preference. Either way. Actually, I'm going to put Cade above. They can go hand in hand, but the reason why I'm gonna put Cade above is because he can also get hatches, which Bandit cannot. But Bandit has better guns, overall better kit. They both have C4, which is great. Like I said, I think Bandit tricking is easier, but some people like to Cade trick. So yeah, and Cade has a pretty decent slug to create rotates as well if you want to use that. Very simple. My thing with Cade is to learn how to Cade trick, and there are some Cade spots where you can place it that are very hard to destroy. So you can do something like that as well if you're going to ban Thatcher. So I think Cade is also up there. Very easy up to learn. Just learn how to Cade trick and you'll be good. Gridlock, it's a very similar situation to Nomad, but definitely a little bit worse. I'm going to put her down there. She's a 1 speed, which makes her worse. She does have the super shorty, which is good, but both of her guns are worse. And she does have smokes, which are okay, but her gadget's a lot easier to destroy and just see. I mean, yeah, you can hear the Nomad ones, but by the time you're able to see them and destroy them, it's too late. So yeah, I'll say Gridlock is just a little bit worse version. Now, the reason why I have her below all of these is because her availability, like nobody's gonna ban Nomad, so you could always pick Nomad, right? And you're going to like now, unless if you're just a demon with Gridlock's gun, but other than that, there's no reason to pick Gridlock over Nomad, so that's why she's gonna be down there because there's no real reason to pick her. Now we got Mozzie, who I really don't think is that good. I'm not a big Mozzie guy anymore. I think I moved. No, I'll keep Doc up there, but I'm gonna leave Mozzie. Uh, I think I'll leave Mozzie there at B tier. Obviously, it's good if you can hack the drone. That gives you pretty good intel. The problem is it is very situational because not only is it hard to get the drones right, but a lot of Mozzies set them up in certain spots. But I am gonna move him up to here. I've changed my mind. But I feel like his guns, both of them are pretty mid. I mean, the P10 Roni I really like to use and I think is really good, but both of his guns are mid. His pistol's mid. He has a C4, which is good. Um, but yeah, I mean his gadget is pretty good, pretty useful. But I say he's kind of hard to use because a lot of good players are not going to get their drone mozzied, and at the same time, if you want to maximize his gadget, you may need to have a Solus with you or a mute or something like that. And even then, good players aren't going to get caught in the mute. So at the same time, it's kind of rough. And then you're going to have to learn as well a very difficult way to switch in and out of the drones, where to move them, how to not get caught, or where to leave them for intel on each map. It is a lot of work to do when you really don't have to do it, where you could play a cam op just as simple as Maestro, Echo, or Valk. I think he's good at intel if you can learn him, but he's very hard to learn, and I don't think he's all that great for it anyway. So I'm gonna leave him in B tier. My tip for Mozzie though would to be to at least capture 2 drones. If you don't capture 2 drones, he's gonna be very limited. And I would say put one in a spot where you can leave it and people can check it, and use the other one to be more as like clearing certain areas so you know nobody's coming, because those are gonna be very easy to shoot. I mean, people are gonna be you're going to be able to tell when you're being droned by your teammate versus a Mozzie, right? So that's my tip for Mozzie. Moving on, we have Nock, F tier. She's probably better than Blackbeard, but she is arguably the worst op in the game. I have a friend that plays her. A lot of people like to play her. Don't know why. She has the worst kit in the game, especially with grenades not being able to cook now. Her kit is terrible, other than her deagle. But yeah, her kit is awful and her gadget is awful. I mean, it's not even silent anymore. Yeah, there's really not much to say. My tip for Knock would be though to, gosh, I really don't know. Is she's really not good. I would say to almost be like a second wave of like, not clearing, but a second wave push. So like as your team is pushing, you push slowly from a different way. Like you're kind of like a spy almost. That would be my tip, and to take out cams and stuff because it'd be very easy for you and you won't be seen, and they're going to be too busy and distracted. So I would say my tip with her would be to be like a sneaky assassin while your team's making a big push. But she is awful. Please don't play her. Warden. Uh, I also love to play Warden, not for the 1.5. I will explain what I think about Warden. overall, I'd probably put him above Blitz. Actually, mm, I'd probably put him behind Sledge. I am very biased. I love to play Warden. I mean, I have over 80 hours on Valk, and I have a lot of friends that like to play Valk, but none of them play Warden, so that's why I play Warden. And the biggest reason I play Warden is deployable shield. The deployable shield is huge. He has an amazing gun and a deployable shield. That is what makes Warden good. That is pretty much it. His gadget is useful sometimes, but it is very rare because a lot of people don't run Ying, a lot of people don't run Blitz, so they probably will now because of the shield rework. And smokes, unless they have a glass, I mean, you have the same advantage they do. He also has C4 if you'd rather run that, but deployable shield and the MPX are the main reason to use Warden. That's why I use him so much. His gun is amazing. He's great at fragging. I would say just don't be a detriment to the team because you're too busy looking for kills and don't want to help the team. It is very big. Put your deployable shield in a spot that not only you can use, but your team can use, and make sure to use your gadget when you can, because everybody knows the meme about the Warden mains. They don't use their ability. They don't. So yeah, that's also my tip for him. Amaru, I think it's gonna go next to Warden. I think Amaru's like a master of surprise. Her kit is pretty good, honestly. All of her guns are pretty decent. And she has hard breaches or flashes. She's a like master of surprise. She's in there to get quick. You don't have to necessarily rush with her. You could go up hatches with her and stuff. She's kind of versatile, but she is very a surprise like thing. You want to do something they won't expect. Like they probably will expect you to rush through the site in the window. Well, maybe have a distraction like another teammate shoot the window or something, and you come up the hatch and get them while they're looking at the window, right? So that'd be my tip is to start using hatches more with her. She doesn't have much else there in her kit, but she does have a decent kit. So I like her up there because she's a very surprise based op. She can work at any time and can also not work at any time. She's easy to counter, but she's unexpected. So I'd put her B tier because of her kit and that unexpected ability. Unexpected stuff. Go-Yo. I think Goyo is a lot better than people give him credit for. I think I'm just gonna put him at the bottom of A though. I wouldn't put him above any people in A, but I think he's better than all the people in B. He's just very hard to play in my opinion. His gadget is great. His kit is great. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it because I've been spending too much time on all of these ops. But yeah, I would say just learn to place his canisters in popular choke points or points that people get to towards the end of the round, so you can like draw out that plant. And he's useful even putting them on hatches. That wastes time. You put it on hatches, that wastes like 20 seconds of them having to wait to get the hatch. And then that gives time for your roamers to come clear. I mean, he's very good. And there's also certain strats you can set up with him that are a little weird that work out. Like you can place them very close together and get pixel peaks with them, but I'm not going to advise those for the tip. But yeah, I think he's very good and very underutilized. Next, we have Callie, which is my most played op on attack on both PC and console. I would like to say I'm probably the best Callie player you'll ever see. So where I'd put Callie, it's just a worse stature. I think people don't give Callie enough credit. I would still put her probably above Finka right there. Obviously, Thatcher's way better, but Callie can do the job just as well. And if you are as well equipped as me with Callie, then it is no big deal. I mean, sometimes I'd rather run Callie than Thatcher, but that's just because I'm so good with Callie that I make it work. Obviously, if you have the choice, Thatcher's the better op. But she also has the Claymores as well to stop that run out and everything and to help her hard breacher get it through. And the only thing is, her sniper is kind of weak, and you really have to learn how to use it. I don't use the secondary at all, but she does have a secondary as well that you can use. She's just very great. She's a very great support on attack and can hold very long angles, obviously, and can destroy almost any gadget there is on defense. So, yeah, she's very good. She's just a lot worse Thatcher, and she is very, very hard to use. That's why I'm putting her above Finka. Well, my is very similar to Callie in a sense, but I'm gonna put him. Uh, I actually think I'm gonna put him maybe at the I'll put him behind Fuse. I may get hate for that one as well. I'm probably gonna get hate for this whole list, but the reason why I put Wamai down there, he's Jaeger but way worse. I mean, his guns are worse, his kit is worse. Um, his ability is just so much worse. I mean, there's just very limited situations where you would rather bring him than a Jaeger. Like he'll destroy one piece of util, and most of the time that doesn't even like if it's a smoke grenade, it literally doesn't affect anything. Like it's still gonna smoke that area unless if you get it like on the roof or something like that, and they throw it up high enough or something. And then if it's a grenade, like yeah, you did waste a grenade, right? But most things it just is not very useful. Um, it's almost a wasted pick every time, in my opinion. I just think Jaeger is just a so much better option if you do want to do that. But you don't even have to run something like that to destroy those things. But you should, and you should bring Jaeger. My tip for Wamai though would be obviously put it in spots they can't see it, and put it in spots where it can help your team. Do not put it in spot like don't put it right above a doorway. So if they smoke the doorway, it's still gonna smoke it, right? That doesn't help. You got to put it in spots where if they smoke it, maybe you could still see their feet or something. So put it a little bit above, but where it still reaches. He's just very. It's just very tedious to play him and not worth it. Next we have Ayana, who has received a ton of nerfs. Um, I'd put her there though. Probably. I mean, that's a pretty easy ranking. She's very simple. She's just Ash, but a little slower and with flashes. I mean, she just doesn't have the destructive capability, but she has the exact same fragging capability, and she's pretty much a free drone, you know. And yeah, it's just an extra drone. Really, is all it really is. Good for Yuto, and you can use it multiple times as long as it recharges. So there's nothing bad with that. But her guns are great, so she's a great fragger, and she's great for getting intel. So I'd put her above Finka. I think that's a fair spot for her, with the kit and all, including. My tip for her, that's tough because all you really do is use your clone. I would say try to make your clone almost like two things. Either you're going to use it for intel for yourself if you're playing solo, or maybe use it with somebody and have it act as a real person. So, like, say you do quick peeks and they shoot it, and then they think, okay, it was just a clone, but then your teammate swings right after. It could be very useful. So yeah, maybe just try different stuff like that. You try to use it in team play more would be a big thing. Now, Oryx, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna put him in F tier. Um, for now until he gets fixed. Like I said, I haven't played the season yet, so I don't know if he's fixed yet. But if you could still insta kill Oryx, he is pretty pointless. Anyone else can make rotates. His gun is good. That is it. Um, yeah, just please do not pick him if that glitch is still out. Because if you can still insta kill Oryx with the shields, he really is pointless. Please don't pick him. He can still make rotates and stuff, and he has a good gun, so that's why I'm putting it at the top of F tier. And I'm also not sure if they fixed that yet or not. But if they haven't, yeah, don't pick Oryx. My tip for him would be, uh, especially if they have fixed it, is to play on multiple layers with them. Obviously, you can climb up patches. Use that to your advantage, and make sure you are taking down shields if they're by themselves. Like if they have a Blitz most of the time is playing by himself. You want to target Blitz. Now, obviously, if there's a Montang, that's going to be a little bit more team oriented, so it's going to be rough for you to get that. But if they kill the rest of them, and hey, it's a plant, you smack them down and kill them. Next, we have Ace, who's also S tier. I'd put him above Habana. Now, the three hard breachers are interchangeable because they're all good at different stuff, right? Like, Thermite is the big wall guy, Habana is the hatches, and Ace is pretty much anything else. Literally anything else. If it's a smaller wall, you want Ace. If it's maybe you want to get different walls, but you want to get angles, right? Then you want to do Ace. Yeah, very simple. Good gun, good kit. Not much to say. A tip with him, just don't use him on hatches. I see people use Ace on hatches. It makes me so mad. You could have just played Habana. Just please pick your ops correctly. When you're hard breaching, just learn how to use the guns. They're all useful because, yes, you learn how to pick a hard breach and you're like, oh, I helped the team. But you're not helping the team when you use 2 out of your 3 gadgets on a hatch and then you only have 1 more to use on something else. And maybe you need to get another hatch and you can't. Or rather, if you use Habana, you could get every hatch on the map almost. I mean, not like they could reinforce all of them, but you could almost get every hatch on the map and it's so much easier. So I guess as a tip with all the hard breachers, learn how to play them all. You don't necessarily need Maverick, but the top three, learn how to play those three. Next, we have Melusi, who's had some pretty big nerfs, but I'd put her near the top of B. She has a good gun. It's decent. I believe she did not get ACOG along with Doc and Rook, so that does hurt her. If she did, then she will probably be up in A, but I don't believe she did. Her pistol's okay, and she has rotatability, but her gadget makes her good. She's very great intel, and she's very good at helping roamers when they're coming back to site. Or if you have them in spots where people come in and next to your roamer, it'll be easy kills for the roamers because they're too busy worried about that. Very simple. For me, Melusi, I would say now that they are shootable, put them in spots that are like weird. Like there's a spot on layer in basement where I can put it inside of a closet that affects them a lot, like a little like closet area. And people don't ever see it, but it affects them, and it takes them a while to find it. Where somebody in sight can peek them and kill them because they're too busy looking for it. You get what I'm saying? So that would be my tip from Lucy. Next, we have Zero, who is okay. Um, this is tough to rank Zero, but I would probably put him right behind Malusi. He is a decent solo op with his hard breaches and his amount of cameras, but the problem is his cameras make so much noise. They're so easy to see. They only get one shot and they can only destroy a limited amount of things. He's still not bad and he is good for intel. I just think you have a drone. I don't know because it's very similar to Twitch. I think I might move Twitch down a little bit because his guns are better and I don't know. They're arguably like the same, honestly. Yeah, and like for clearing stuff, I mean, there's so many people you can use. So many people just have clearing ability anyway on attack. But maybe I'll move both of them to the bottom of A tier just because they are very situational. Um, yeah, it's very tough to rank them because they could be they could be good solo ops. Sorry, my brain is all over the place, but yeah, Zero does have some flaws because his cams are very easy to see, and he does have limited stuff he can break. They are very loud as well. So yeah. My tip with Zero would be to learn solo pushes and team pushes and spots from underneath and above or on the side of a wall that gets into spots that are hard to notice and give you a wide view. I would say a good map for Zero, in my opinion, is Chalet. I find him very useful on that map. But if you want to learn how to play op, you want to use them on every map, and you want to find these angles for them, right? And whatever your team needs. If your team's like, we need to destroy something, you're like, hey, maybe Thatcher's banned. I am not good at Twitch. Let's see, like somebody else picked Ash and they're going a different way. Maybe I pick Zero then, right? So yeah, that's my tip. Aruni, I think is S tier, probably just above Jackal. I just think she's so useful on every site, not for quite what people think. Yes, they do stop people from getting in. All they have to do is throw something through it, though. However, it is another great form of intel, and they have to waste utility to get through it. I think that is an amazing tool for Rooney. I think her guns are great. She can punch holes so she doesn't have to waste her anything else. Like she has a deployable cam, she can actually use that because she can create rotates. She can punch out hatches to create good roaming. Yeah, she's just overall an amazing character. I mean, you can use her for pretty much anything. And the fact that more people don't play her really surprises me. I love playing Aruni, either gun. I can switch to either of her guns and I thoroughly enjoy it. So yeah, she's really great. My tip with her would to be learn like head hole spots, learn like little pixels you can create with her punch because I've learned a few on quite a few different maps, especially Cafe has quite a few. So if you want to try some with her, just try to figure those out. You can learn quite a lot of different punch spots with her that are great. And yeah, use her gates to like cover things like vaultable rotates. Those are huge because no drone can get under it and stuff. No smoke can get under it and stuff like that. And they have to break it if they want to get through that rotate. And a jump rotate is normally a pretty big vocal point. That's why it's a jump rotate anyway. So yeah, that's what I'd say my tip for her would be. Now we're getting close to the end here. I'm going to try to rapid fire these and explain. Flores, I think, is A tier. I'm probably going to put above Mira. I think Flores is probably the best drone specific operator because his kit is the best. His drones destroy the most, and he has claymores as well, which help. And I just think that the explosiveness and the ability to flush people out, the ability to let them roam forward while you push in, and then they explode when the time runs out, is great. People don't use him to his full extent. He is kind of hard to learn, but he is an amazing operator. So my tip would be to learn how to flush people out, and also learn the rolling technique where you place them down, let them roll forward to a certain spot, and where you know somebody is going to be when the time runs out. And then you can push in or hold an angle. You know they're going to run by, and you'll be ready to shoot them. That'd be my tip for Flores. Next we have Thunderbird, who I'm probably going to put above Blitz. As you can tell, I'm not a big fan of healing ops. I do not think they're good. And Thunderbird heals the opponents quite a lot. A lot of the time she will, because when are you in a gunfight and you're like, let me shoot the Thunderbird in case I die? You're not going to. And if they take over your position in sight, they have your Thunderbird. I just think her kit's not that good. The only thing that makes her really good, in my opinion, is the deployable shield. The deployable shield obviously is huge. I just think Thunderbird is a really, she doesn't really play for either side, like unless if your team is good. But even then, you won't need it if your team's good. I just think she's not very useful. I think if your team's good, then you're not going to need her anyway. And if your team's bad, then they're going to take it over and use the Thunderbird for their advantage. The other team will. So, my opinion, I just don't think she's worth using. But my tip for her would to be to keep one on you and maybe try to roam with her and keep one of the Thunderbirds on you at least. So if you're in trouble and you're taking pot shots and trying to keep the opponents off site, you can heal yourself. Next, we have Osa, who in theory is a good op, but I swear every time someone picks Osa, their brain loses 20 brain cells. But where would I put her? Because Osa is decent. She's definitely another mid tier op. I'd probably put her just slightly above Thunderbird. The problem is with her shield, it's a two-way street. People can punch it. Yes, you can break windows and stuff with it, and her gun is good, both of them, but she's just very hard to utilize, I think. She's very good in an outside setting if you could place it down and get a wall open. But running in with her, I mean, you could shoot her feet, you could shoot her shoulders and stuff. I mean, it's not very good. They're very easy to destroy. Like I said, you can punch them. No point in putting them in doorways or windows and stuff. And like I said, they can see you. So, you know, it's a two-way street there. It's not a one-way street. So, yeah, it's another very even op like Thunderbird. It can be used in your advantage, but I think you're a little bit more in control, especially you only have two of them as well. It's harder for them to use it against you. My tip for her would be to not rely on the shield so much and kind of use your brain. Like only use the shield when you know you have time to set it up and there aren't people nearby. Don't run in just with the shield out. Like actually hold angles and stuff and use her gun because she has good guns. Next we have Thorn, who I'm going to just put above Capcan. And there's a reason why. Thorn is terrible. Actually, I lied. I'm going to move Thorn down to D tier. Thorn is terrible. The only reason why I had her in B tier is because she had a 1.5, but I remember that is gone now. Thorn is awful. The only thing she has good is the deployable shield. Everything else is bad. The traps are easy to avoid. You can shoot them. Her guns are bad, all of them. She's not very good at anything. She's not even a 3-speed. They should make her a 3-speed in my opinion, but she's awful. Only good thing, deployable shield. And yes, deployable shield really makes her more valuable than all these people, in my opinion. Deployable shield, learn how to use it. You need it. Sens, pretty awful. There's not much to say. A tip with Sens, I guess, is use the confusion to your advantage. Like, maybe use it to run into spots, but at the same time, they're going to be able to hear you, and you won't be able to see them, and maybe they see you. It's very, very bad op. Pair it with Glaz is the best thing I could say, but then you're using a C and an F tier operator. I mean, it's really bad. Azami is still S tier. She's not quite the best op anymore, but I'll put her behind the hard breachers. I could see her being higher, and yeah. For Azami, though, I think the nerf they gave her isn't really a nerf. It takes like 30 bullets, which is ridiculous. That gives you time to swing out and kill them. That gives you intel, and that wastes their time and mag size, so people can sneak up behind them. People forget that the whole point of a zombie is not just a free shield for you to do it whatever you want. A zombie is used for intel, used for quick peeks, used to kill people, and used to overall just shut off areas. Because if you have a one way, a smart person's not going to go towards the one way because they're going to die. You could still set those up even if they're shooting them. And guess what? They spend so much time shooting them. You want to just go around a different side of the one way, or you want to tell your teammate, hey, they're at the one way. They can come kill you. They can come kill them very easily, or you can kill them very easily. I think people are over exaggerating the Azami nerf. It does make her slightly worse because there are some situations where they can shoot it and get off scot free, but overall, she's still an amazing operator. It has the best SMG in the game. The deagle to help create like rotates and head holes, impacts to create rotates. Yeah, she's still S tier operator, and I could still see her being top 3, but I just moved her down there because she did get nerfed slightly. Next, we have Grim, who I actually am very high of. I think he's slightly better than Gridlock. A lot of people find that ridiculous, but I don't think they understand how Grim works, especially with the bounce ability. I mean, that makes him so much better. He pretty much does the same exact thing as Gridlock, but it's for a limited time. It's a little bit better, and he has more. He has 5 of them, obviously, and he has better guns. He has better speed. He has a whole better kit. Him and Gridlock are very similar. It's just depending on what you're needing to do. I just find Grim better because he has a better gun for killing people, and you can use it to not only stop people from pushing in, but you can clear rooms with it. You can clear angles that people hold with it. So it can not only be used for stopping people from coming back or blocking off areas, it's also used for you to investigate areas. Next, we have Solus, who is arguably the best operator in the game. I'm gonna put her above Dokubai. Either way it goes, I could see it either way. But Solus is just so good. I mean, again, she has the best shotgun in the game. I know people like to use that P90. Stop using it. It's bad. She has the best shotgun in the game. Use that. She has the SMG 11, which if you've been playing Smoke and Mute, you can easily use and easily control. Now, I know she's getting nerfed where she can't look at drones in prep phase anymore, but that doesn't matter because as soon as it ends, she'll see where they are and be like, okay, maybe they're coming in through this way. I can get prepared. And you have the shotgun, you're able to create holes. You have the SMG 11, you're able to kill fast. She overall is just amazing. She's an amazing operator, and she clears so much intel. My tip for her is to be you have to run with her. Do not sit on site as Solus. Don't just try to kill the drones coming in. Like, that's pointless. You're going to be able to see when people are on phones when they're about to use their gadget. You can run out on people and kill them so easily. You can kill people through the floor. You can see where they're planting. Just don't be on site with Solus. That's the number one thing. Brava, I would say I would put under Flores because she is arguably the same because she can take over stuff, but that means she has less stuff to do because Flores can just destroy almost literally everything, whereas she can just take over stuff, which means less stuff that there is for her to take over, but it is very good. She can take over cap cans, Arunis, Maestros, like just anything like that. She is really great. Yeah, she's very simple. My tip with her would be to use her for more than just cap cans. Like, she's very big with the Rooney gates and stuff. And a very similar thing that I said with Twitch is try to figure out ways to get her drone in the building without it getting shot. All right, we have 4 left, and then we're done. Fenrir, I would say is probably A tier. I know he gets banned a lot. I think it's just because he's annoying. His things are easy to shoot, and when you shoot one, they can't reactivate. He does have a good gun, and he does have rotatability. Actually, I'm going to move him up just because his kit is very good, and he is very annoying. He's very similar to Jackal, right? He's not the hardest to counter, but he is just really annoying, so you do actually have to work towards it and figure it out. But just simple droning could help you, and obviously Jackal's on attack, so it's different, but we already talked about that. So simple droning can help you with Fenrir, but he is still really annoying, so I do get it. Next we have Ram, who is the best operator for playing above. And she can destroy other stuff too, and her guns are good. I'm probably just gonna put her probably probably above Iana because she is great. She has a good gun. She's good at killing. Um, and she is the best op for playing above. But the fact she doesn't have the versatility to play below, she can destroy some gadgets, which is good. And she's a good operator to choose by. She's very situational as well, and she's very loud. So if someone's roaming and comes from behind you, it can either hurt you or help you. Because if you're watching or if you move around, they won't know, but then you won't know when they're moving around. So she's a very 50-50 op in my opinion. And my tip for her would to be obviously to play vertical, but don't let her drone distract you and those holes distract you. Be mindful of your surroundings and where people may come from. Next, we have Turb, who I would say was S tier when he had 4, but now that he has 3, I'd probably just put him there at A tier. He just slows down the denial, which is great. He has really great guns and a C4. He has a great kit. But now the fact that he only has 3, they go by a lot quicker than 4, obviously, but it's just very noticeable. So yeah, I think that's very simple for him. Honestly, the tip would be to coordinate with one of your hard breachers on this. So like that helps out with bandit tricking and cade tricking, but or if not, maybe coordinate with one of your roamers and be like, hey, they're getting the wall. Could you run out and kill them or something, right? Like, and a lot of times that doesn't always work, but if you want to try that, I mean, that totally works. And he's just very versatile and he can freeze stuff. Obviously, I didn't even talk about it. You can see people's footprints if they're above you and stuff. You can freeze their gadgets and make them walk slower and all that. So he's very good. Now we have Deimos, which is the newest op, who I've not played yet, but just off of how his ability works, I think I can kind of tell how he's going to be. I think he's going to be about here, A tier, because he's gonna be great at giving intel on maybe an important op like a roamer. Like that'll be great to have that intel. But I think he's gonna be a lot harder than people think. Because people are gonna get tunnel vision, which gets them screwed. And even if you don't, like if you're a champ player or like a very great player, you don't need to necessarily go for him, but you need to know the maps because you're gonna be like, okay, maybe he's on Visa. I could tell he's on Visa stairs, right? Like it's gonna be you need to know a lot. He's going to take a lot to be good, and you can't just stay focused on what he does and that you're being tracked and he's being tracked. And keep in mind, they're going to know where you are too, so you're going to have to know how to counter that, or you're going to have to be with a team that can help you. So it's going to be very hard to play, but I think he will be very good. He's going to give a lot of great intel for you. So yeah, that's my tier list. Sorry, I may have overexplained a little of the things. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Sorry, we'll get to normal Siege content next week, but I just really had no content for this week because with season ending and stuff, there's just not much left for me to try. So yeah, we'll be back next week with another video. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Yeah.